So, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Success Partner podcast with Daya Naef. Today we have a guest, Mike Kneffel. Hi, Mike.
Hi. Hi.
Great to have you here. So, Mike is a branding expert, and Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself personally and professionally.
Let's go. Well, personally, I, I really don't know. My personal life and professional life really blend together to the point where I'm always listening, always learning, always studying, no matter what. I played athletics all the way through college, football, basketball. And I played 1 year of soccer in college, and everyone says, "Well, how'd you do that?" Because football, basketball players are not built for soccer.
Yeah.
Well, I went to a small school, and my roommate was the goalie. They only had 14 people, and he talked me into it,
Ah,
and I had a blast. And I just learned, you just go do things and have fun, and things take care of themselves. So after college, I worked in advertising for many years. And some of my clients were global brand, Chiquita, Vlasic, Little Caesars. And I worked with these brands in developing their brand. And actually, my job was in the strategic development of what they call messaging. And so we would study competition and how are we different and learn all about what is it going to be that's appealing to these things. Um, and the good fortune, my very first boss in advertising had actually came from Procter and Gamble. He was at Procter and Gamble in the 70s when anybody who's in marketing knows Procter and Gamble did a crazy good job of developing the whole brand process. So he's in the thick of it. So I kind of learned from him, and that carried on into, and then I left advertising, and oh boy, 1994. That's
okay.
a while ago. All I'll say is that's a young person's industry. Boy, that is just very much. Started my own consulting business, and I don't know if luck would have it. I hesitate to say that. My first 5 clients were law firms.
Okay.
And it was just interesting because in advertising and many industries, you have that conflict of interest thing. Well, I had lawyers from one firm recommending me to lawyers at another firm because they all knew each other and they needed help with marketing. And I said, okay. And I said, well, you both, not only are you at competing law firms, you both do, for example, patent IP work.
Oh.
And they started explaining to me, yeah, but I do this kind of IP work and I do this kind of IP work. And I said, okay, all right. Well, if it's okay, I'm going to go talk to them. I went and talk to them. Next thing I know, I have a whole basket of clients in law firms, some big, some small. But as I got into the industry and learned, I quickly found, and when it comes to marketing and branding with lawyers, it is not a one-size-fits-all marketing package. What I do for estate planning lawyers is totally different than the marketing that I will recommend to a corporate lawyer or a real estate lawyer. It's different. And then even inside each practice area, what I've learned is subsegments. I've worked with a estate planning lawyer that wanted large, big wealth families, and we would go after car dealerships because many times car dealerships are family owned,
Mm-hmm.
but they're family owned. They have the family name, and the second, third generation they spread out, take their little dealerships, but it's a big family. And there are some other industries as well that they have the big wealth. I work with other estate planning attorneys that they make their living off of parents that have kids in college.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
getting the proper paperwork in order in case anything is to happen with those kids. They don't have to worry about showing up at a hospital and the hospital saying, "Who are you? We don't care that you're the mother. You are not listed as whatever needs to be listed to get in." Power of attorneys and things like that.
Yeah.
So even
People
within
don't know
segments,
that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's and so you have that, and that's like within the little segment of estate planning. So after all those working with these people and lawyers and studying and really understanding, I came up with what I call the marketing plan workbook. And that is a workbook that when I work with a law firm, I open it up to every attorney in there, and I put pressure on the associates, because part of an associate's evaluation is, are they partner material or what? When the door is closed and the meeting starts between all the partners. And I know they've told me that they list it, and it's not. Yes, a big part of it is, do they have potential to bring in clients? What's the revenue generating potential? This and that. But also, are they out there soliciting new business? If it's coming in or not, maybe we can help them out with that. Maybe a partner needs to go with them to meet somebody, whatever. But are they kicking doors open? And so I developed this program that basically is down to, we write down what you say when you meet somebody. And part of that is because as in my business, I would go to seminars where people say, branding for lawyers, branding for law firms. I said, oh, good, let's go see what they're saying. And they would all tell people what to do. Like right now, well, you have to be on LinkedIn. You have to be on, you have to be with your state bar. A lot of those have directories, and you have to be this and that. It's okay. What do you say when you get out?
Yes.
And I draw on my advertising background and my messaging training to actually tell people, what do you say? What's going to be appealing? What is the consumer behavior of a client? And I don't care if it's a multi-billion-dollar client, and I'm in the Detroit market. We have Rock Financial, which is a big one, Rocket Mortgages, and a huge client. Well, I don't know, but definitely nationwide. And I know one of the top lawyers in there, and I say, well, what do you look for when you go to hire a firm? He says, a very small percent, we are looking for reputation, because I have to go in, and if it doesn't go our way, I have to be able to justify, well, yes, it didn't go our way, but we went with the best. And he told me, other than that, he goes, I just want to meet the people that are going to work in the business. I want to feel good about them. I want them to be responsive. Responsive doesn't really mean filing things. Responsive, what I've learned, is returning phone calls.
Oh, yes.
And these clients don't care if it's you or your assistant or somebody. And so I really pound in them the 24-hour rule. It's like, somehow, some way, get back to them and just say, I got your message. I'm going to get back soon. But so I don't know if I'm straining or not. But anyway, it is a very personal business when it comes down to it. So I've developed a marketing approach based on my background and things like that. And that really is based on the fact that clients hire lawyers, not law firms. And I've met many lawyers, and we've had many beers, what have you, discussing that, because, I don't know about. I said, good, and that's a good conversation to have. And like I said, there is a percent of lawyers that are hired because the firm has a good reputation. Being for example, Detroit, 10, 11 years ago was bankrupt. Well, Jones Day was brought in.
Oh,
okay,
household name.
Nobody, yeah, you don't have to ask. Who's handling Jones Day? Okay, good.
That's it.
Which lawyer Jones Day? It didn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Jones Day. So that's the kind of thing where, yes, the firm brand name, and there is a good value to having a brand name for a firm, but it's a different approach than the personal lawyer.
Yeah.
Because the personal lawyer brand is based on, who are you targeting? What kind of cases do you want? What kind of cases do you more of? What kind of cases are you doing? What are your, a success story or two? And as I talk to the lawyers, I would like to have more of that kind of business. I said, okay, good. Let's go get them. Let's go find them. Let's get in front of them. And it can be as simple as with there's an associate I know that I worked with at one of the law firms, and her father is in charge of gift giving. Her father's an attorney as well, and she's in an area of estate planning, things like that, charitable giving. And her father's in charge of all the archdiocese of Detroit gifts. Anybody gives a gift comes through him. He reviews it. Okay, good. We can take the money. We can't. I said, that's a lot of money. She says, yeah, I know. Any big city archdiocese has a lot of money pouring in. So, and eventually she was going to go there. Well, she just starts going to his meetings. They have golf outings and they have this and that. Starts to meet people. So she's helping them with a lot of other gift giving. I'll give you an example. I guess the name of the company now is Stellantis, formerly known as Chrysler. I can joke about it because it's a couple miles from my house, and we call it it's that. It just
Formerly
keeps
known.
changing.
Yeah, formerly
Yes,
known as Chrysler.
yeah, formerly known as Chrysler. But they have a huge department of donations and foundation. They contribute a lot, as does every major company has this.
Mhm.
So she's now getting business from these companies. She narrowed in, this is my niche, and I'm, okay, good, let's go after it. Where are these people? Where do you meet them? Where do they go? What do they do? That's the type of brand building. So it's beyond a logo and a theme line. And yes, those all contribute, but it also includes, who do you want your brand to appeal to?
Mhm.
Who do you want to either click in and send you a message or call you or somehow connect with you? And that's that's kind of the background of what I'm doing now, and with the whole marketing program. And personally, that's easy. I grew up in Detroit during the 60s and 70s, and yes, I was there when all kinds of fun was happening. It was, in fact, I'll just share a quick
Motown.
story. Yes, it
Yes.
was. Yes, there was some fun, but I share a quick story. Where I lived, um, right next to it was a big parking lot. It was a strip street and a bunch of stores behind a story parking lot. Well, the National Guard set up a camp right there during the Detroit riots. And so all the kids in the neighborhood, because the National Guard, we played wiffle ball. They put up makeshift basketball hoops. They, in the parking lot, put horseshoe pits. The ladies in the neighborhood would take pies and chicken and things like that. It was, so people say, well wow, how were things during the riots? I said, I had a blast. And they look at me like I'm really weird. They go, what were what were you doing? I said, well, I was playing wiffle ball with National Guards guys. And I learned how to change a tire because they would bring a Jeep in and have to change the tire. And so, but it was your basic ride your bike to the ballpark any summer day and play baseball with your buddies. And it was a good time.
Yeah.
Very nice. And
Nice. Americana.
yes, it was Americana.
Yeah.
Some of the everybody says, well, growing up, what were the big things? I said, man, when that first McDonald's opened up, oh my, so it was Americana. Uh, so there was a lot of things, but that's kind of like the deep background. But
Thanks so much. That's a great background. Tell me a little bit about when attorneys go through, because I know there's an event coming up. So tell me a little bit when attorneys come to the branding blueprint workshop. Like, what does that look like?
well, what it looks like is it's a very brief introduction on the term brand, and I want to get things focused in my definition of a brand, which is the tangible and psychological attributes attached to a product. And I call everything a product. So what about service? I go, it's all a product.
It's a product.
It's the tangible and the psychological attributes attached to a product that make that product different and preferred. Different and preferred. And it only takes one to get the business. Everybody says, well, we have all these things. I said, good, more is better. But if you have one attribute so we go quickly, just the overall definition, and then we get right into literally a fill in the blank worksheets that help walk people step by step, defining what their attributes are, what their strong points are, who they compete with. Even individual lawyers have their little circle of whenever they're going for business or they go to court and they're always across the aisle from somebody, and so they're all in the same industry. But who the competitors are, we walk people, we discuss, and if there's 5 lawyers, it doesn't matter if they're all 5 are from different practice areas, because they're going to be writing in their own personal, they start to develop their own personal brand campaign. And then as we keep going through it, we'll get to points that would be like the consumer value proposition. And every lawyer needs to have one. And that is a very short, it's even shorter than an elevator speech. And you rarely say it, but you write it as, because then that guides your elevator speech. And that kind of, you choose some words that describe you. And I say, what do people think of you now? And if you don't know, you don't have to right now, but in the next couple of weeks, ask people. It's a painful question to ask,
Yeah, get
but
good
you should
feedback.
ask.
Yeah, get feedback.
Yes, just ask them. They tell them to give you 3 words that describe you, and have some fun with it. And then what we do is, and then they get, well, this is what I think people think of me now. Then we move on to, what do you want them to think of you? And a lot of times it could be similar, but it might be 1 or 2 things added. Mm-hmm. I want them to think I have more experience than I think they think I do. Or I want them to think that, whatever it is. That's okay. And so we walk through the steps of the branding process that leads to an elevator speech, basically, a short paragraph that answers the question, why should I hire you? And that is the object of it. We don't stop there, because then we get into, okay, because a big part of the branding process is visibility. And that's why I said earlier, being on LinkedIn, being on the state bar directories. Occasionally, if a opportunity comes down with a local magazine or something, buying an ad. In the Detroit market, there is a radio station, a very popular one, for the AM drive. Okay. And every January and February, they run gigantic. I mean, they really take their rates down. I never asked why. I just take advantage of it. And I call people up. I say, look, for $1,500, you can have one spot every Monday to Friday in the morning drive, which in the Detroit market is 6 to 8:30 a.m. Okay. You get one, and they record it. All you have to do is send them a script. I help the lawyers write a script. They record it. They put the background music in it, everything. You approve it. And so that's the kind of thing as well. And I know a lot of people, and they said, well, nobody's going to, call us just based on that. I said, no, but in marketing, people have to hear your name 3 times before they even know you're alive.
Yeah, cumulative effect.
And so it's brand awareness, and we touch on that. But there's a whole grid in this process of the marketing workbook that has all the different, blogs, podcasts, speaking engagements, because I know a lot of people don't think are branding exercises, but they are.
Oh, absolutely.
And part of the reason is all the speaking engagements. I worked with an attorney that, I forget the actual name of the group, but it was held at University of Notre Dame every year, and it was a tax group from around the country. And she got an Excel spreadsheet of everybody at that conference. There were 400 or 500 pretty successful attorneys in her field. Mm-hmm. And so we would follow up just with a quick, and she would always get 4 or 5 cases just from that
following up.
Mm-hmm. Following up. And absolutely. At the speaking engagement, she'd meet them, this and that, but that's part of the branding is, again, it's getting your message out to people. What do you say? and she was real nervous because um, a lot of attorneys are. I learned, one of the lawyers explained to me that up until, I don't know the exact year, but say the early '80s, it was actually frowned upon pretty heavily to advertise.
Yeah, 1975, they finally passed a rule to
So
advertise. And
that,
boy, has it gone gangbusters since then.
they were going, yes, and long as they stick to the,
Yep.
don't make any pledges, just tell them what you've done, and that's where you see we've won all these big cases,
Uh,
which, okay, they've done it,
they've
so
done it,
they've done it. They can't say we're going to do it for
but they
you, and a
can't
lot of them,
imply, right? They can't imply that
no,
they always win.
they always win, yes, and but nonetheless, so that's what I helped her do, and we crafted a very nice, thank you for attending my speaking engagement, blah blah blah. Just so you know, here are some of the other things that I do, and she lists, and then we'd always end with a success story, whatever her most recent success. And success wasn't always winning. Sometimes it was taking a case that somebody wanted $5 million and she got it down to 200,000.
Yep.
And she would explain how, walk people through it. And when I first said, I said, "Oh my God, that's a big win." She goes, "Well, no, I didn't win the case." I said, "No, you didn't win, but
Right.
you got it from here. This is what they asked for. This is what they got. You were the one." And so
Sounds like a win to
there's a
me.
lot of different ways. Yeah, and so that's kind of, as we walk through the different things you can do to get your name out, and then we head toward the very bottom, which is the sentences, um, there's 3 lines, and it's um, I am. It has the question is something to the effect of. I got my little cheat sheet right here. You should hire me to handle your legal work because, and because that some in a roundabout way, that's the question you get many times. Now it might come as, I don't know, I mean, have you worked on my things before? Have you? Because what the other thing I'm seeing is in the legal field is, and I kind of contribute this to Google and the ability to research things on your own. Prospective clients are looking for someone who has exactly the experience that I need for my case, as close as they can get. And when someone says, "Why should I hire you to handle my work?" If you're familiar, which hopefully you are familiar with the case, you could say, "Because I've done that before.
Mhm.
I can hit the ground running." And I can, whatever the answer is, we write it out. And I'm also a firm believer, I've been drilled in, if you don't write it down, it's not a plan.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Hope is
It's
what
just,
is it? Yeah, it's a dream.
yeah. So I don't
Is
know
a
if I'm
dream
rambling
and
on,
all
but
that.
kind of, yeah, I'm sorry, but that's an overview of, we really get into the messaging. We get into the guts of what a branding process is. We help people start to develop their own plan. Like I
Mhm.
said, I've done a seminar and there's 10 attorneys from 10 different practice areas. It doesn't matter. They're rating to their practice. And we have questions, answers. It's a discussion oriented group. But by the time they're done with the session, anyway, they have a pretty good start to, or some of them have a finish. It all depends on getting things in place.
Wow, you're really hitting
So,
the ground rolling. So tell us about the one that you have coming up in September.
well, the one in September, I'm kind of looking forward to because um, I, I'm anticipating a broad spectrum of
Hmm.
practice areas, and the what's going to happen is it'll be a webinar format, and I'll be co-hosting, if you don't mind, with
Yes.
you. Uh, so
Absolutely. Yes, we're inviting our lawyers networking group, also known as Lawyers Happy Hour. So that's going out to our membership and the Lawyers Mastermind group as well. And of course, anyone listening to this podcast is invited. So
yes,
September 26th, starting at 8 Eastern, and we're going to go for, is it 4 hours, 3 hours?
well, it's slotted right now from 8 to noon.
Okay.
And I think as things get rolling, it probably will go, but it might go, one way or the other from there. And and as well, I'm going to be inviting a lot of the groups in Michigan area, Detroit area that I'm in with. And yeah, the reason I'm excited is here's what's going to happen. Everybody who registers will get an email link to download this workbook ahead of time. And so they're going to have it. They can print it out, get their pencils out, or if they want to, it'll be a Word doc as well as a PDF. They can work on it while the seminar is going on. And we're going to walk through and help people understand how they can really tailor and build a brand development plan specifically for themselves.
Great.
And that's why I'm excited about it. I get excited about building the
I love
brand.
it. Yeah,
And,
it's a
well,
done, sort of a done with you. It's a sort of a done with you pro because we talk about done for DIY and then done for you, and this is like a done with you program.
it is going to be a done with you. We'll be able to answer questions in real time. I'll have some examples of previous marketing plans for brand development that I've worked on, and show you what people have said with their um, the and also there's a space in there because a lot of attorneys have, you asked me about my personal life. Well, I give you an example. I worked with a guy named Eric, who was in the Air Force before he became an attorney. And while I was in the Air Force, he was in Desert Storm, one of the Desert
Mhm.
Storm operations. And he was a flight squadron commander for a squadron that would go drop bombs on the bad guys. And Eric, well, he won an award. I don't know if it was Super Lawyers or one of the awards. And so they had a little doing in the Detroit area. And he was all excited because he had never won this award before. And I happened to see him, and he says, "Man, Mike, what do I say?" He goes, "I don't want to blow it." He'd never been to a networking event as a lawyer. I said, "Eric, steer the conversation to your time in the Air Force."
Mhm.
He says, "Well, yeah, but everybody there's going to be a lawyer." I said, "They already know who you are, and they already know what you do, and you got your label that says what firm you're with." I said, "I guarantee you'll be the only one in that room who is a squad commander in the Air Force, and if you know anything about attorneys at social events, they are just proud Americans." And I'm like, "Come on, Eric, you bombed the bad guys." I said that, and he did. And actually, it took a while, but he made some relationships. Some people were saying, "Hey, I'd like to find out more about what you do. Let's have lunch." And they scheduled this, and he did good. So that's the kind of thing. And I think everyone has a bit of a side story that could be appealing, and that's part of your brand. Um, because people remember him as much for that as they do all his good legal work he does.
Oh, absolutely. Hmm.
And actually, he's a patent attorney in aeronautical.
Oh, wow.
Uh, and so, what better background than
So
he
it
used
ties
to
in. It definitely
get a
ties in.
toolbox out and fix his own plane. But
Very unique.
another attorney that I worked with, it was in 1980 that they thing called a miracle on ice when the United States hockey team beat the Russians,
Hmm.
and it was the first time. And it was big. Well, this guy, he's in the Detroit market. He was the last player cut from that team. And he looked at me, he goes, "Well, that's not news." I go, "Yeah, that is kind of news." I said, "You know the coach." He goes, "Oh, I can call him right now if I had to." I said, "You know these other players. You went the distance. Unfortunately, they had to cut." So I told him, I said, every now and then, if you're at a meeting, you kind of, if someone says, "Well, what'd you do in college?" "Oh, I played hockey and this and that." And then actually, I was fortunate enough, I got to try out for the Olympic team. And oh my God, last day I was cut. And the same thing. That in itself is human interest. It's a story that anyone who's followed the Olympics and what have you, and there's movies on it and things like that. So we also, in this process, that the webinar, we're going to ask people to, hey, let's think about, is there some human interest that you can bring into your brand message
Hmm.
like that?
It goes back
Like I said,
into people hiring people, and
people
sometimes
hire
our
people. That
hire
is the
hire people.
basis. That is the basis of what it is. When a client, and again, this is what I've built the program on. When clients hire lawyers, they want to know which lawyer or a couple of lawyers they want to know about the people working on their business.
Hmm.
Yeah, they want to know about the rest. Okay, good. You got 53 attorneys, or you're a solo practitioner.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. Tell me about you. And that's what we do is really develop that brand, personal brand message. That's what's going to happen in the upcoming webinar.
that's
Is we're going to
awesome.
walk through. Everyone's going to have the sheet in front of them, go through. And I presented this to actually to lawyers from around the world while we're doing the human interest thing. I used to work with on occasion. There's a network, legal industry international network in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is not too far, and I've been a guest speaker at their conferences, and it's so it works. It's a good legal industry approach to developing the personal brand.
I love that, Mike. I can't wait to work with you on this. Again, it's going to be September 26th from 8 a.m. Eastern time until about noon. So we're going to put the information. Thank you again for coming on the Success Partner podcast with your host, myself,
Okay.
Daya Naef. And again, we're going to put all the information about the upcoming workshop because I know people are going to be really excited about having this time carved out to do a done with you type program where they'll be able to walk away with something that's already ready to roll. So I really appreciate having you and thank you for coming on. And we will all be seeing you again on the 26th.
Thank you very much,
All right.
and all the best.
Thanks.
Thank you.